but I also was just like, if I can get to the top of this climb, I know that that's like a theoretical finishing line where it's like if they're catching me by there, then it's just
Hmm.
game over because I've had such a hard day. And if I've still got a gap, then I think it's pretty unlikely that I lose much time. Even with the hammerhead climb, I was like,
Yeah.
even if I cramp, which I did, I can still just run up that or something like that and just get over the top of it.
19 of the Rapid Ascent podcast. My name's Jeremy, and today we're joined by a rider who had an absolute breakthrough performance at the 2024 Otway Odyssey, Tali Lane Welsh. Now, if you don't know, Tali rode away from an elite field of riders, people like Dan McConnell, Scott Bowden, Brendan Trecky Johnson, Sam Fox, Tasman Nankervis. In fact, in the first few kilometres of the race, Tali gained a very substantial lead. Then he proceeded to hold these riders off for the entire 100 Ks. He stormed the finishing chute, held his bike above his head, and I believe he was a minute 30 something ahead of the nearest competitor, Dan McConnell. Even more amazingly, if you train with power, the stats that Tali pulled out for that day, for that performance, were absolutely incredible. He held an average of 282 watts for 4 hours and 27 minutes, I believe it was. At the time, he was weighing 67 kilos. And when we go deep into the power numbers in this chat to hear how he pulled off such an incredible performance. I believe his normalised power for the entire race was about 4.3 watts per kilo. And if you train with power, you know that it is absolutely insane for over 4 hours of racing. In this chat, we talk about how he got to where he was at just the tender age of 24, what training he did, what nutrition he was consuming, what his mindset was during the race, and just what it feels like to have a day when you have diamonds in the legs, you're racing hard, you're feeling amazing, and you're on top of the world, essentially, or at least on top of Australia. It was a really good chat. He's a really nice guy. So have a listen, take notes. There's a lot to learn in this conversation. Everyone behind you is
Yeah,
a world-class phenomenon in the sport, and you've just sort of sailed away from them pretty early on. So I'd love to talk through the day, if you can remember it. It was a little
yeah.
while ago
No,
now.
I definitely remember it.
So let's go from the start. It was that first lap. You go up Kangalang Road in the old course. It's changed a bit for 2026, but it's a big climb to start with. I looked at the Strava segment up there. I think you were sort of in a pack by the look of things. Maybe you're 1 second off the pace up to the top of the climb. So obviously in a bunch with a fair few
Yeah,
guys. Talk me through that first loop.
yeah. Well, so yeah, Kangalang's always. I mean, apart from this year, from what I've heard, it's always been a bit of a like not neutralized, but it's always been a pretty chill warm up for the whole Otway. Because it's a very long race and you don't want to go out too early and all this sort of stuff. Like everyone sort of paces themselves and we normally ride that reasonably tempo. So I had raced it before and I sort of learnt from other marathon races it's important not to go out too early and stuff like that, which, funnily enough, I ended up going out pretty early, but not as early as I normally would. And yeah, I going into the race, I remember not really having too much planned out as far as tactics, just because you just sort of got to adapt as a race goes on. But I do clearly remember wanting to be into that descent from the top of Kangalang into Noonday. I wanted to be into that first wheel just because no matter how good you are at descending or bad you are, like that, it's such a fast, sort of gnarly descent. It's like quite a narrow, like fire road, access road type thing. There's sticks and debris everywhere. It's just always helpful to have a bit of a gap going into that. So all I remember is I got into that first. I was like, all right, I'm gonna just ride this. Like I've got a downhill background, so I was like, as long as I ride this safely and within myself, I think I'll be all right. And I just remember, yeah, I think it was Jayblood, Chris Strongward ripping past me about maybe 100 meters into the descent, and I was just like, all right, well, let's just stay out of his way because I don't want to mess with him, and I'll just follow his lines and see if I can get a bit of a gap into Noonday, and then yeah, give myself a good chance of having, you know, being in the front group at least up that really hard steep 10-minute berg.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, for those who don't know, if you're listening, this isn't in the new course actually, but it used to be a bit of a moment in the race where it was quite a mechanical risk because you do this big bomb down, as you say, sticks everywhere, quite
Mm.
tight, straight down into this abyss, really, and then you climb straight back out of
It's
it.
carnage.
It's a steep, bloody hard climb out of there.
Yeah.
So Jay Blood was ahead of you going up that climb, was he?
Yeah, well, no, I think he had a similar idea to me where he wanted to be into that descent pretty far up or first. So I remember I sort of gassed it over the top of Kangaroo Lane and ripped into it, and then I had maybe a 10-second gap on the rest of the field going into the descent, and then Jay Blood was just behind me and just full committed, came past me around a corner. Like I said, just didn't even look at me, just full send straight past me. And then yeah, I stuck just behind him for the descent, and then came past him on the start of noonday, which, like you said, such a hard climb. I mean, I've not properly analysed it, but I know that it looks like, I think it gets up to like nearly 40%. Some of those like real steep bits that you almost, your arms are hurting more than your legs just holding yourself on the front of the bike to get up the thing. So I just settled into a decent tempo, and I've always been pretty good at those sort of 5-10 minute efforts. So I yeah, got up that pretty quick and got a decent gap from there.
Yeah, awesome. So for a mere age grouper like myself, masters rider, what sort of, I guess, effort are you doing up there? A 5 minute effort? Like, are you doing VO2 max? Are you puffing your brains out going up there? Are you trying to stick to power, or like what are you doing? You're riding on feel.
Well, yeah, like you said, I mean, it's different for every rider. I think noondays are really, it's such a hard climb that it almost makes it simple, the pacing, because for a lot of people, it's just about getting up it. Like, there's a lot of people that, like, if it's wet, you're almost certainly off the bike for parts of it. It's just that steep. And yeah, I think I did it in around 10 minutes last year, but I'm sure that the average time's probably closer to sort of 15, 20, because it's just so steep
Right.
for so long. But yeah, I think I've always called that climb a bit of a cadence climb, where no matter how good you are, like, you're always going to be in like one of your lightest gears, and it's going to be more about how fast you can spin, sort of thing. Like, you're going to be loaded up. If you got real low cadence, like, you're just
Mm.
creeping up the thing. And like when I went up it last year, I think I was in, yeah, like sort of the bottom three cogs for most of the climb, and it was just more about me just thinking I just got to keep the cadence up. Like, I always, 450, 400 watts is like always a good number to see, sort of thing, where you sort of don't want to go higher than that. And I think I probably got a bit excited at the start and was closer to 500 for a bit. But yeah, I think that's, to nail it down, it's a cadence climb. Like, you just got to keep the pedals going and hold on for dear life.
That's wild. Okay, so then you got away going up there, and then you bomb back down Kang Lane.
Mhm.
At what point did you say, I've got a bit of a gap here, like I can't see behind me? Because just to give away the punchline, in this first lap, you gain, 2 minutes on the nearest competitor, I think, something like that. You got a
Yeah, I
big
think it
gap.
was a decent chunk. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I remember getting to the top of that climb. I felt pretty good, physically. Like, I was like, all right, I feel good. I feel like I've already won. Like, I'm already up in theory, where I haven't emptied myself too much. Like, I got a lot of the gap on the descent, and I've got a bit of a gap here. So I was sort of like, look, I'm just gonna ride at a really comfortable pace, like fast, but not like outside of my abilities, I suppose. And I'm going to just let them come back to me and use this as a bit of a chance to eat and drink and recover, and just like, I've got a bit, like a little chunk of just like free time almost.
Yeah. Did you think you'd gone too
So
hard? Was there something in your mind going, shit, I'm ahead of everyone. These guys are weapons, and I know I've got an engine, but have I gone a bit hard here?
no, Jez, like, I mean, I'm about as ADHD as they come, so there's no such thing as too hard for me. I sort of,
Oh,
it's one of my biggest. I mean, it's a strength, I suppose, but I think a lot of the time it's a bit of a weakness for me. So I just get very excited, and I find it very easy to just yeah, like I said, get excited and just rip the pedals. And it's hard to hold on to something like that for a 4.5 hour race, but yeah, like I said, I think I felt pretty good. I was aware that, like, being this far in front of a group of those sort of caliber guys was unusual. And I was like, in the back of my mind, I was like, I definitely don't want to blow up and just end up barely finishing, sort of thing. But yeah, I think once I had that gap, most like the next maybe probably 10, 15K, I was more about letting them come back to me and just controlling my effort and being able to eat and drink, like I said. Yeah, I only really committed when I got to the climb from Lake Elizabeth up to Red Carpet. So that next pretty crucial climb after Kangalang descent, a few bits and bobs like that. I was sort of like,
Hmm.
they still haven't caught me. Like I reckon, if I can get up this climb, I reckon I've got a pretty good chance of staying out front here into the single track. And yeah, I got to the descent and gave it a whack down there.
That's awesome. Okay, so at that point, you're going, I can stay ahead to the next section. You're not thinking I'm going to stay out ahead all day. You still sort of think these guys are probably going to join me somewhere, or do you just think I'll just keep riding my tempo, keep going hard? Were you having a blinder? Were your legs like diamonds, or what was the sensation?
I definitely had diamonds in the legs, that's for sure. I think that I had a good, I'd had a good the lead in was pretty good training wise, but I'd also had a good amount of time like riding the single track where I hadn't been on the road for a big block or anything like that. I'd done a bit of quite a fair bit of off road racing beforehand,
Hmm.
and I think my technical skill had really transferred across from the bigger bikes that I was used to riding to the cross country bike. I'd sort of been on the cross country bike for a good 2 seasons by that point, and I hadn't had any major injuries or anything like that. So I think that I sort of knew that if I could get to some single track with some clear space, I would be able to ride at a pretty solid tempo for quite a long time.
Yeah, no.
Just technically, I feel pretty comfortable at a reasonably high speed, and like my reaction, like I find it really like almost peaceful. The faster I go on the single track, there's like more going on. It sort of calms me down. So I thought, look, if I can get into the single track, I can at least sort of break these single track sections like up into segments sort of in my head, and I can just tick them each off. And yeah, I think that's what I ended up doing. Like I always had in the back of my mind that I'd probably get caught towards the end. So it was all just trying to preserve my legs as much as I possibly could while being as fast as I could.
Yeah, nice one. Because then you go into the Western sort of forest network, follow the dog, all that sort of flow trail.
Mm,
Looking at your Strava, you've got a lot of KOMs through there that day. Like you were flying through that section, which isn't easy. It's flowy, but it's also steep ups
mm.
and steep downs, and so you obviously had a blinder through there. Then you came into the forest for the first loop, into the
The
forest
yogas.
footy oval.
Mm.
I missed you on the camera because I was waiting for a big bunch, and you just stuck through in your black kit, and went out again to Yorga. Tell me about going to Yorga, because Yorga is a different sort of type of trail. It's single track, it's old school, it's rugged, it's sapping for the legs.
That's the perfect description of it. I think that it's definitely the sort of trails that you need to have either raced or ridden beforehand to know just like how hard and physical and how much of a make or break that section of the course is for your race. And yeah, like I said at the start, like I didn't have heaps of plans going into it apart from being into the descent at the start first. But I definitely had in the back of my mind, I knew how important it was to be fueling and sort of reserving a bit just to physically get through the Yorgas as smooth as possible, because I feel like for that sort of track, at the end of the day, it's more about being smooth than being fast, because
Yeah.
it's very easy to just like, hit a bit of single track and you just pedal as hard as you can, go as fast as you can. And these sort of trails, like, they're not flowy like, like you follow the dogs or anything like that. It's all about having like a good head on your shoulders and being able to pick good lines and really preserve your legs and your upper body, like your whole body's working to like pull your bike over logs. And it's such a physically demanding part of the course. I think it was just, yeah, it's definitely a really good thing to be able to know that it's coming and
Hmm.
not be shocked and then suddenly be, an hour into this course and be like, holy shit, I've only done 15K of this. I've got another 30. Like, what am I going to do?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Do you have any techniques to think that through? Like, do you keep your head up? Do you look into the corners? How do you slow yourself down? Because when I'm in that mode, I often get panicked. I'm braking, I'm accelerating out of the corners, I'm
Mm.
just spending energy everywhere. But how do you sort of stay smooth, stay flowy? Is that your downhill background, which we'll talk about in a second, or what do you do?
Well, yeah, I'm sure there's a bit of like the downhill background definitely comes out in different aspects. Just like my position on the bike is a little bit different, I reckon, to your average cross country rider, where it's a bit more like sort of BMXy, I suppose. Like my heels are a
Oh,
bit more dropped and my center of gravity is a bit different. which is, it's good like to get the most out of the bike and stuff. But I think that in a bit of single track like that, it's all about line choice and sort of calming yourself down, like, and realizing you sort of, it's not about how much energy you put out, it's more about like how much energy you save almost. So yeah, I just like, when I think of the augers, I just think of like tight switchbacks or tight corners where there's no berms, they're almost off camber, and then
Yeah.
straight out of that you're like pulling yourself over a log or something like that. So
That's
like,
completely, that's my picture of it too. Every time I ride there, I go, bloody hell, this is hard, because we live in Anglesea. We've got nice, smooth trails. You go and ride out there, it is draining.
oh yeah,
So yeah, you just sort of
well yeah,
keep the flow.
it's just smooth is fast. Like that is the, if I could say one tip for that sort of trail, it's just smooth is fast. Like, you really got to just ease your way into the way you're riding those trails. And if you're just ripping it as hard as you can, you're gonna just end up off the track or in a bush or something like that. So
Yeah.
I think you just got to really calm yourself down and try and find a bit of a rhythm, which is hard to do on something like that.
Yeah, easier said than done. But in that loop, that big sort of second loop through Yorga, which I think is about 35 k's or so,
Yeah.
you maintained. You didn't make much time up, I don't think, on the rest of them, but you also didn't lose much time. And I think actually Dan McConnell lost a bit of time in that one, while some of the other guys, Brendan, Trekkie Johnson, and co, sort of gained a bit
Gained a
more
bit.
on Dan.
Yeah.
Then you go into the last loop, which again isn't in this year's Odyssey, but the last loop when you did it was a big climb up Thompson's track.
Thompson's, yeah.
Talk me through that loop, because I think Dan started to reel you back in a little bit during that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that when you get to that part, that's where it's like, the more seasoned riders like Dan will sort of know that 90% of the races are going to be won and lost on a section of track like that. Like, that's where it's like the fatigue's really setting in. People are, blowing up, or they haven't eaten properly or drank properly or had mechanicals or crashes, whatever it is. So that's where it's like you're going to get your highest percentage, like, differences in time and whatnot, I suppose. So yeah, for me, obviously, it would have been very different to Dan. He would have been a lot more controlled and like dialed up. He's going into a climb like that, knowing exactly what he was going to do and how to control his effort. Whereas for me, I think it was just hang on for dear life. Like
Was it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got through Yorgers. Like again, I was expecting to be caught by a small front group at some point, and I sort of was getting time gaps off different people. And I remember I passed a few of the lead girls, and I passed Beck, and she was like, I think she said something like, "Oh, I was expecting you guys to pass me sooner." So I was like, "Oh,
Thanks,
are
Beck.
we?" No, I was in like, I think she was like, I mean, I think she was also just on a blinder. So
Yeah.
so
She
I
had
think
had
that
a huge ride.
yeah, so well, I was just like, oh, I mean, any moment now, sort of thing. I just got to keep doing what I can, not going too into the red. And yeah, I came through that feed zone, and I just remember hearing, I think, Ads Kessel on the mic was sort of saying he's, still got a big gap, and I was hearing, there's something around the 5 minute mark, or like it had definitely extended since going through the feed zone that first time, and I was just like, all right, let's just hit lap on the Wahoo and just try and ride whatever speed I can up this berg, and if I can get to the top, like it's all downhill, baby.
And did you know what was in store? Like, you'd ridden it before, and you knew what the climb was like, and you had it all
Yeah.
recce'd, so you knew what you're in for. A big long climb.
Oh yeah. And I knew it was I knew it wasn't as steep or like aggressive as noonday. So it was like
Yeah.
the sort of thing that you can sort of settle into a bit more of a tempo, but it's still just it's such a punishing climb just because it is a climb, but there's definitely some descending and stuff in there. So
Yeah.
if you look
I'm
at
having a look at the
the
profile
segment,
now.
yeah, it's
So for the listeners, it starts at about 80 k's or 77, and it goes up till 83-ish. Then you got a bit of a descent to 85. Then it's another big climb up to like 88. So it's a solid section when you've got 80 kilometers of single
hard
track in your
riding.
legs. And so what's your mindset at this point? What were you thinking?
Yeah, I was just like, do I have any caffeine gels? Pop those, drink as much as you can, and try not to cramp. I again, I didn't have a very, like, I had a rough number in my head of what I thought I could sort of hold for that sort of 20, 30 minute effort. But I also was just like, if I can get to the top of this climb, I know that that's like a theoretical finishing line where it's like, if they're catching me by there, then it's just
Hmm.
game over because I've had such a hard day. And if I've still got a gap, then I think it's pretty unlikely that I lose much time. Even with the hammerhead climb, I was like,
Yeah.
even if I cramp, which I did, I can still just run up that or something like that and just get over the top of it. And yeah,
It's crazy. So your total race time when you crossed the line, it was the best salute ever. You got off the bike, you did a big Van der Poel salute, bike over your head. It was unreal. Like I think your family was lining the chute. They were going berserk. Like it gave everyone goosebumps. It was one of the best finishes I've seen at the Odyssey. Um, but yeah, before you get to the bottom, so you get to the top first. So you've done the 30-minute climb. You say
yep,
you know what you want to sit on, and I want to go back to that in terms of what power you're sitting on.
yep.
Then you come down. You've got this sledgehammer, a big steep wall that you have to get
Oh,
up, and what happened there? You cramped, had to get
yeah, yeah,
off.
yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I honestly, I still to this day haven't gotten up that climb. I don't think, except for in just recce's. So I've raced that loop twice now, including the time that I won it. The year before, I'd had a shocking running, training wise, which we won't get into because it was just a negative after negative. But
Right. Yeah.
yeah, I just knew that it was short, so I was like, oh look, I just need to get as deep into it as I can, and if I cramp, then I just got to get to the top. Which yeah, I got about I think three-quarters of the way up, and I ended up just getting off the bike and running, which is you know I guess it's probably not what you would expect the winner to have been doing, but
I think a lot of them
it's
do.
a
I
hard
mean,
climb.
it's a hard climb, and it comes late in the piece, and I think a lot of people do walk up there. So it's good to
Yeah,
hear you are mortal and you had to get off your bike.
I definitely found that hard.
Talk me through the finishing shoot. What were you feeling there?
Oh, like yeah, I mean. It's it's a hard to describe the feeling of like winning a race that's so it's such a well-known race and it's such a big race on the Australian just cycling calendar, let alone off-road calendar. I was like, yeah, it's always it's in the back of your mind going into an event like that, like oh what's it going to be like if I win? Oh my gosh, like what salute will I do? All that sort of stuff. But then actually being in that position, it's a big mixture of just like the pure elation of winning a race like that and like having your family there and having people that have believed that you could do it and being able to like almost do it for them more than yourself, and mixed with just the happiness of not having to suffer anymore because it's just been such a big day, like your whole body's hurting, your back's hurting, just everything's hurting. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, I was just happy for the downhill at that point.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And celebrations after. Was it a big A race for you leading into it? We'll go into the preparation because I am curious. I know you said you didn't want to talk about
Mm,
the rough year of training, but
yeah,
how did it sort of stack up? Because I know you do a lot of road riding. We'll get into that as well.
yeah.
You did come from a downhill background beforehand, and then
Mm.
said you were doing a bit of off road racing. How did the Odyssey sort of stack in your priorities for 2024?
Yeah, well, it was definitely high up there as far as my mountain biking was going.
Hmm.
The year before, I'd raced it along with a few other races. Again, different circumstances, whatnot. I'd also gone to Worlds at this point for the marathon in Glasgow the year previous, and I'd done pretty good like at Worlds. Again, it was a top 50 finish sort of thing, but from like pretty much last row. So it was better than I was expecting. And I sort of was able to prove to myself what I could do with good legs. And I was sort of like, all right, like, what's a big race coming up? Like, I couldn't do nationals that year because I had road commitments. So I was like, all right, well, let's go all in for the Odyssey. And I had nationals and a few UCI races over in New Zealand before that with Keish, my road team.
Oh yeah.
So I was sort of like in between blocks there as well. Like I'd gotten through that first road block of the season, and I'd started doing some off road stuff again. And yeah, that was sort of it was just a perfect little position where I still had some fitness from my roadblock, and I was not too overdone on the off road.
Yeah, awesome. Your numbers in 2024 were insane. I think you averaged, well, if we can believe what Strava says, you averaged
Yeah,
282 watts for 4 hours and 27 minutes. And
yeah.
what are you weighing roughly at that when you're doing that?
I think it was about 67
Whew.
kilos. So
Okay.
it was, yeah, 66, 67 is sort of the lightest I'll be when I'm moving well. But yeah, it's definitely it's a hard yeah, it's hard to look at a mountain bike profile because it's quite spiky. So I mean I can yeah, I'll get my file up as well so we can have a little
That'd
number
be
crunch.
great. Yeah, that'd be
Um
great. Because I mean that I haven't got a calculator here, but that's got to be 4 point something per kilo. I think
yeah,
it must be 4 point. Maybe I should get my calculator out.
yeah, I had 330 normalized for the whole race.
330. Wow.
Yeah, so about 4.3 watts per kilo average.
4.3. Wow. So if anyone's listening, they train with power, they know that that is ridiculous. I think that's my FTP's lower than that, which is like meant to be your 60-minute test, and that's on a flat
Yeah,
road,
max.
not
Yeah.
applying spiky power on noonday and all those crazy tracks. So to get to that level of, I guess, just sheer output fitness, you've obviously done a lot. You're obviously
Mm.
a natural talent as well, I imagine. I don't think you can perform like that without being some level of naturally gifted. Oh, shake of the head.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I mean, I think you sort of have to be at this point. Like, it's everyone's trains hard, so
yeah. So what were you doing? So I was curious when you said that you knew for Thompson's track roughly what power you could hold for that 30-minute climb. Was that
mm.
what you could hold for 30 minutes after 80 Ks of racing flat out, or is that just in general?
Uh yeah, so well looking back on it, I've since that race I've done a bit of testing on my lactate levels and VO2 and all that sort of stuff. And I've been able to sort of figure out why I was able to hold numbers like that towards the end of a hard race like that. It's all I think that my rider makeup is kind of an interesting one where because I've come from a mountain biking background, my VO2 sort of powers, those spikier, shorter powers, have always been decent just from I guess doing that sort of riding. But I think naturally I'm pretty good at the longer sustained powers. So yeah, I think I rode it around 330, 340 for that 30-minute climb up Thompson's. I can actually look at yeah, 340 normalized for 28 minutes
Wow.
and just
Yeah.
under 330 for that climb.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that since doing some testing post that race, I think my LT1, so my lactate threshold, where my body starts producing. I'm not sure exactly the
Yeah.
scientific
It's
term.
like,
It's basically your zone two. I think the top sort of your zone two.
right. So between
Um,
LT1 and LT2, from my understanding, is like, yeah, your middle zone. Once you go above LT2, is that like VO2 or
well,
threshold,
yeah,
or I don't
LT2 I
know.
think is your threshold. So that's where
Right.
you're clearing lactate, and it's just started to be. You're producing just a bit too much lactate to clear at the same time.
Right.
So that's where it's like you can only hold that for like a certain amount of time. Whereas in theory, LT1 is your zone two, where you can, in theory, again, it's a lot harder to do in practice, but you can sort of stay on top of clearing the lactate at the same time. And yes, since the race, found my LT1 was quite high uh, for a mountain biker, I suppose. And it was around like sort of 320, 325. So the top of sort of
Jeez.
zone two is around that, where it's like quite a big chunk of what my threshold would be. So
That's like
as long
Poggy.
as
Almost.
I mean a little bit, I'd say a little bit off that, obviously. But yeah, I think that that was probably what ended up helping me was just I kept on top of my hydration and nutrition, so I didn't bonk, and then I was able to sort of fall back on just not having to sink too much below my threshold for that longer effort at the end.
So that's interesting. The LT1 is super high. Is your LT2 also high, or are they quite close together? And it's sort of like, I'm really good at sitting, as you say, like a 4.5 hour effort, time trialist sort of style profile.
Yeah. My LT2 is still reasonably high, I think. It's not anything crazy. It's definitely a fair bit higher than my LT1. But I think I do lean towards being closer to that time trialist sort of makeup, which is proved itself because I've had some pretty good TTs in the last 12 months as
Yeah.
well. So I think it's really helped me sort of determine what sort of a rider I am, and both on the road and off the road, I suppose. And it will help me in the future to really sort of figure out which way I sort of lean to train for the events and targets that I want to try and achieve through a season.
Yeah, awesome. So as I was saying, I'd love to dig into the training stuff
Yep.
because I think that's what everyone wants to know when they see performance like that. They're like, well, how do I get faster? Because, it feels like there's only a certain number of hours in the week. There's only a
Mm.
certain number of things you can do. How many hours are we talking per week on the bike?
I think depending on what I'm training for, the most I'll do is sort of the late, sort of like 25 to late 20s, on the bike, and then I'll have a bit of gym and stuff off the bike. But that's for a big tour and big longer races, you sort of have to. Well, I find that helps. That works for me. And then as little as yes, sort of 16 to 20 hours, I suppose, on the bike.
So your lowest week is 16 hours.
Yeah, I think. Well, yeah. If when I'm training full time, I'm normally around sort of the 20 hours to 23 hour mark.
I think I've found the problem with my training. It's a lot less than that. So okay, so how do you stay engaged with the process when you're doing that many hours?
I don't know. I think I get really motivated by seeing the progression. It's hard. Like it's very easy to look back through rose tinted glasses and sort of be like, oh, it was great. I'm sure there was massive chunks of like those blocks beforehand where I was just in a hole and like had the worst saddle sore ever, or I was just I was run down, or had a sore knee or whatever it is. But I think it's just you get those little slivers of a training block where you sort of start hitting those bigger numbers, or the efforts get a bit easier, and you start noticing those differences, and you sort of just go like, you get that motivation of the results that can come from it. And I think I really love getting into that sort of training cave of just being locked in and you know eating well, drinking well, training.
Yeah, you sort of stack wins on wins, and it becomes a habit, I suppose. But it's also
Yeah.
very easy, I find, to get fatigued, stressed. You're like,
Oh
this is
yeah.
too hard. I don't want to get on the bike. And then you start telling yourself stories. You know what? I'll miss today. And then before you know it, you miss 3 days. If you do that
Yeah.
too often, you're not going to be good. So how do you get through those tough times? Is it just a non-negotiable for you that I'm getting on that bloody bike no matter what?
Yeah. I mean, I think like you said, everyone's different. I mean, I've always my biggest issue's always been the resting part, which is going to sound weird for lots of people, I feel, but it's always been like if I've always done more rather than less because mentally I would feel like if I can control the controllables and that being training as good and much as I can, then I'll get the results from it. And I think there's the sort of two categories of riders, and that's the ones that sort of need a bit more of a kick in the ass to get out the door, and the ones that need to really be told to calm down. And I sort of fall in that latter category where it's more about keeping a lid on it if I'm injured or sick, rather than pushing me out the door. In saying that, I'm enjoying my time off right now, so
Are you? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
yeah, it's good to have like another focus as well. Like I get very focused on one single thing, whether it's cycling or making sourdough bread or playing golf or whatever it is. I get quite
Hyperfixation.
quite fixated and addicted to it. So
I can
yeah.
relate to that. So, yeah, interesting. Right. So when you're sick though, you don't want to go training, do you? you want to get out on the bike. I'm just gonna. Is that because you're like, if I don't, I'm gonna be worse, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna be losing? Is a pressure on yourself? It's not a physically. I want to go and ride the bike.
Yeah, no, it's 100% an unhealthy pressure on myself. I mean, yeah, I've had some injury. Like I think I broke my collarbone and back. It was 2023, end of 2023, and I went into surgery that next night, and then I was back on the trainer the day after. Again, it's not. It's. I mean, it's. I suppose it's good because it means that when everything's going good, like I'm really enjoying myself and finding training easy. But I've just got this. I have this feeling where I feel like I'm lucky enough to have these big blocks where I'm not having to work or study, and I'm able to just ride my bike and train, and it's so much fun, and it's a sacrifice that I love to make, and but I've got family members and stuff that are working or whatever it is, and I feel like it's a bit of a like I kind of owe it to them and myself that I just do as much as I possibly can when I'm training. So yeah, like I just I don't know. It's definitely something I've learned to get better at. And yeah, like you said, I mean, you never if you're sick, you don't really want to go and ride, but there's just this little part in the back of my head that's just like, oh, I probably should. I'll feel better
Don't you
afterwards.
worry that? Don't you worry that it's going to make you worse and put you into a hole, and or you think I'll push through
Yeah.
this? And I'm just
I
curious about the
mean,
mental side because it's a definitely it's obviously working for you, whatever you're doing.
well, it hasn't though. That's the thing. So it's definitely that mentality has been more often than not my downfall for races where it's been I'll have like a little hiccup maybe a month out of the race and I'll have been having a really big training block and then whether it's an injury or an illness or whatever it is, I'll be like, oh, I've just put so much effort in. I need to just keep this going and just keep training through it. Whether it's like I'll back it off a bit, and then yeah, it'll like you said, like it'll end up knocking me out. And
What does that look like when you're knocked out?
it'll just cook me. Like whether it'll the sickness will get worse or it'll drag on or in the case of that collarbone one, I ended up getting just like all my immunity was just lowered because your body's trying to recover broken bones and stuff, and if you've got surgery wounds and stuff, it's trying to not get infected. Um, and yeah, it's almost 100% of the time, it's always better to just take the time to recover properly. And yeah, I think that yeah, like you said, I think that it's something that I've learnt more and more now. With having a good support network around me, it's just worth taking the time off and taking a deep breath and then reassessing.
Yeah, that's cool. That's interesting. How does the food thing play into it? Because I know I mean, power to weight is an unfortunate truth of performance. Like if you're lighter and you have the same power, you go faster uphill.
Yeah.
How do you think about nutrition and body image and I guess, yeah, staying healthy while also being light?
Yeah, well, like, yeah, obviously, like you said, it's a massive topic in cycling. I think I've always been reasonably skinny, which I suppose lucky for. I've had quite a high metabolism and things like that. So I can't really speak for every cyclist, but especially recently, the trend has always just been more, like eat more carbs, eat more everything, like, and yeah, especially for me, if I'm doing those sort of 25, 30-hour weeks, at races or training, it's quite high intensity. It's just like I cannot eat enough. And it actually gets to a point where, especially at big races, like I raced Qinghai Lake, which is a tour that's at quite a high altitude in China this year, and it was just the hardest bit of the race was eating for me. Like it's the amount of food that you have to put in your guts is just it's obscene. So it's really changed, I think, since the old school theories of eat less, train more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I find that I've worked with some dietitians and nutritionists in the past. My recent one, Alan McCubbin, has been really helpful with writing me a bit of an eating plan. But yeah, I think me and Mum again have sort of dialed my nutrition leading into races and big weeks of training to be it's all about as much carbs as possible, high amounts of protein after races. I mean, after training and stuff. And then yeah, fueling for the next day's training as well. So it'll be, a standard day will be like a pretty big, solid breakfast, early enough before training in the morning. Eating good on the bike, having a good recovery meal after that, and then if it's training the next day, that's when the biggest meal of the day is, which is dinner.
Yeah, right. So what's a big breakfast? Like, you having bacon and eggs? Are you having cereal and toast? Are you like, what are you having?
It depends. I'll often do. Recently, I've been doing a lot of oats. So I'll do, but it'll always, if I'm eating for a big training week, it'll be a sort of double tap. Like I'll have like a few, like maybe 4 or 5 pieces of toast, and then like a big bowl of oats or something like that. Like it helps me sort of get more into my body by having the different, rather than just having a shitload of oats to
Yeah, slamming
consume.
it down in one sitting, and then you're
Yeah,
like, what have I done?
yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, it's also good to have like the oats and stuff like that sort of stick around in your body a bit longer.
Hmm.
But then you just a piece of jam toast or something like that to really zap your muscles into getting ready for the day.
And then
But
you're on
yeah,
the bike first thing after breakfast. Is that the general?
no, I've got to have a good, I'd say 2 hours, I reckon, after a big breakfast that I'm training. And yeah, because I've got the luxury of not having to work a full-time job in these big blocks. It's normally going to be, yeah, I'll eat brekkie reasonably early in the morning, and then that's when I sort of do the other stuff that I need, like want to do or need to do. And I won't get on the bike until maybe 10 if I eat at like 8 o'clock or a bit before, just because uh, if you've got the time and you're doing the hours, you need to have those big breakfasts, and if you want to be able to use that nutrition, you need your body needs the time to process it.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so then on the bike at 10, and do you ride solo generally? You're with
Mm.
teammates, or who do you train with?
I've got some local hitters that I train with a bit. I've got Joel Green, who actually also races the marathon stuff. He's just come off a few really awesome results actually on the
I
on the
know that
mountain bike.
name.
Yeah, yeah. So he's a local guy that I do a good amount of training with. He's a full time Sparky, so he has a bit less training less time on his hands to train. So I might do one or two rides a week with someone like him. And then I got my best mate Taz Blizzard, who was also pretty into riding as well. So, and my little brother Ezra as well. Actually, Ezra, he raced the Otway this year.
I
So
did
he's
see a. I did
yeah.
see a. Is it Lane Welsh?
Well, that's the
I
one,
did see
yeah.
a Lane Welsh on the results sheet. I thought that must be a relation. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah. He's getting better and better, so it's good to have another guy to ride with. But yeah, if I'm honest, I think I'd say 95% of my training is just by myself. Which I don't hate it. Like I've got, like we were talking about earlier, my numbers. If I want to be riding in my zone two, it's reasonably high. So it's a pretty fast ride. So there's not many people that like to come out and ride beside me if I'm doing like a hard endurance ride like that. So
Yeah, 320 watts for 4 hours. Who's keen?
yeah, it's not that, but it's fast enough that it's not an enjoyable social ride. But yeah, I think honestly, yeah, Ezzy will come out and he'll sit on me. He'll have an endurance ride. He'll sit on my wheel, and we'll go out and do like a couple of hours, and then I'll just cut some laps of our local mountain at that top end sort of zone two, and that's I think the average ride with someone else, I suppose. And then just like your local bunch here and there.
Yep, and you're riding along, slamming carbohydrate. I imagine. How much
Yeah.
carbs are you eating per hour? Because that's hard to maintain. Like, if you're
Oh
doing
yeah.
30 hours a week of training, and you've got to eat how many
Oh yeah.
how many grams an hour?
My the golden number for me recently is between sort of 90 and 100 grams of carbs an hour. So I'll do, if I'm doing the big days, it's important for fueling the rides if you've got hard efforts towards the end or whatever. But also just backing up consistent days in a row of training. Again, the more you can eat, the better. It is hard. Like it's hard. It gets expensive if you're doing this off gels. So I'll sort of just be smashing like lolly snakes or sour worms, and then just like carbs in the bottle, whether it's sugar or maltodextrin or something like that. But yeah, I think that I'll normally train off around 90 to 100 grams an hour, and then I'll race off sort of 120-ish sort of thing.
Okay, and that's all right for the gut. You can manage 120 when you flat out in a race.
So normally racing with a gel, which is like a sort of 1 to 0.8 ratio of that maltodextrin fructose, which is a bit easier for your gut to manage. And it's as all right as it can be. Like I'm not crapping myself out there. So, but it's not, it's not comfortable.
But it's not comfortable. You're not cruising along going, this is nice.
No.
I'd love another lolly snake. Or another gel.
Definitely not. It's you sort of you notice when you find that gold number of what works for you, what's enough, because you'll have a ride and you just won't feel tired, and you'll be doing efforts and you'll be like, oh, this is awesome. But it definitely takes a bit of getting used to.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so you're smashing carbs around the clock. If you were doing less training, like say you were doing, maybe for the listeners here, serious age group, it might be doing 10 or 12 hours a week, would you follow the same sort of eating? Would you be trying to eat as much food as possible, or would you try to moderate? Would you be like, oh, my weight's going to be an issue? Because I think that's what sneaks in. And you can get yourself in if you've ever ridden on erg mode on Zwift or something, you get in the death spiral. You can sort of get in a death spiral of not fueling enough as well. And then you get tired and you don't want to train.
It's a bit of a downhill trajectory from there for sure. I think for the average person, I think it's super important just to always be fueling yourself. Again, within reason, like you don't need to be eating the same that someone like me or a pro athlete's going to be eating, because it gets to a point where it's just not even fun. But I think that it's always important to eat like healthy and balanced. You can sort of get away with eating a bit more simple carbohydrates and stuff if you're training like quite. Where's my dog? If you're training consistently, it's not going to hurt you to have a beer or have some carbohydrates that are a bit more fun to eat. But I think those main meals have to still have that, good ratios of protein and carbohydrates and just nutrient vegetables and stuff like that. Just to be a healthy human, it's you find that even if you're sick or something like that, you just got to eat. You got to eat food and fuel yourself. Otherwise, you're gonna suffer. You'll be running on empty.
Yeah, true. So, what in terms of your day-to-day diet, are you eating clean 100% of the time? Are you having beer every week? Are you having any beer? Like, what are your rules? Do you have rules, or you just sort of try to stay balanced and try to stay healthy-ish?
When I'm training, I'm pretty on it with the nutrition. I actually don't drink at all, really. I drink, I'm in my off season now, so I'll have a drink with a mate or whatnot. But through the season, I'm not touching any alcohol or anything like that. Not that I've got any problem with it. I just don't feel like I need it. I like Ribena enough that I'll just or just stick to water. And then, my family's always been really good with eating pretty healthy. And my mum, again, God bless her, has been really good at keeping us honest with eating good healthy food. So I think that my average daily consumption is quite clean. In saying that, it is also so important to be eating that I'll have I'll have a 2-minute noodles or something like that if I get hungry, just to get something into me. And it's been an interesting little learning curve for my mum as well, to go from the classic, you go return from the shops just full of vegetables and stuff like that, to coming back with lolly snakes and meagering noodles. But it's just
it feels unhealthy, but it's a different. I was talking to Holly Ranson, who's a dietitian and ultra runner, on the podcast. She was saying if you're burning that much fuel, you can eat things that other people would eat and get diabetes. You need to.
It's definitely like the benefits way outweigh the negatives, I suppose.
And so talk to me about your road career at the moment. You're racing with Caish Body Wrap, I believe. How many guys in the team? You've just been over in Asia. What's the sort of roster setup goals with that road racing, which I think's almost 100% of your focus?
Yeah, so we're a pretty big team actually, because so Caish Body Wrap We just recently changed to Cage Body Wrap, which is, Body Wrap's a really big new sponsor that's come on. They're a kit manufacturing company out of China, so they do a lot of exercise wear and stuff like that. And we've been working with them pretty close to try and produce some really quality cycling kit, which is getting really good actually. But yeah, so our team has we've got a bit of a track team element to it, so doing the velodrome and stuff like that. And then yeah, we've got a few guys, a massive road team as well that are just sort of strictly on the road. But yeah, we've got a bit of a, I say, sort of core amount of riders that are doing most of the Asian series, where we've got people like me and Will Heffernan and Alistair Christie Johnson, Cam Scott. They're all really talented road riders, and we've been able to get some pretty good success over in Asia this year, which has been great. So
yeah, so what's the Asian racing scene like? I'm probably very ignorant here, but do they pay for results? Is it different to the NRS here? It must be bigger and more
so
prestigious.
It's all the UCI. It's all UCI categorized races. So there'll be whether that's 1.2, 2.2, 1.1, 2.1, or the dot pros. So we raced off the top of my head, I can't think of the amount, but I raced a good 5 to 10 UCI races this year, and they're all very high caliber nowadays, and yeah, they pay pretty well as well. Actually, the prize money is really good. Like, there's lots of money over in Asia, and it's seeming more and more to be the sort of sport of cycling's moving in that direction with like Astana. Yeah, we got Astana, got like a big Chinese sponsor now, and a lot of European teams have been coming across to race those. So it's getting very, very difficult to get those results, but it's great.
Yeah, and I believe you won a jersey in one of these tours, KOM jersey, pretty recent. Tell me about that.
I almost won. I was in it for most of the tour. That was a really good tour for us, actually. We had reasonably short stages, sort of around that sort of 100, 120k mark, and quite punchy, and pretty warm. And yeah, we got I think we got 3 stage wins, a few like second places. I was in the com jersey from the second stage to just before the last stage. I ended up losing it. Only just, but that's all right. No. I did the best I could. But yeah, that was a great tour. I went in there with our GC ambitions, which got quenched pretty soon into that first stage when I had a guy ride into the back of my bike and destroy my derailleur. So that was a bit of a write-off. But that next stage, I was given a bit more freedom, and I was out in an early break, and I ended up getting caught. I was solo for the last sort of 20k and got caught just before the line, which was unfortunate, but definitely good legs and a really, really good tour for the team.
That's cool. So, it sounds like your style is sort of the breakaway specialist, is it? But if you've got climbing, you've got time trialing, you can break away. You're pretty dangerous as a GC contender. Is that the aim? Is that what you want to move to? Like, do you want to go Europe, or what's the?
There's heaps of obviously, dreams of getting as good as you possibly can, and whether that's being on a world tour team or just making money from racing mountain bikes or racing road bikes. It's such a hard sport, and there's so many peaks and troughs, whether it's health wise or just not getting the results that you feel like you deserve. I think that GC has become less of a. It's always, for lots of people, it's always the thing that they think of, because it's just, that's the famous, look at Pogacar and all that. But I think it's such a specific rider that can do that sort of a job, I suppose, in a team like that. That you need to be just on it every single day, no matter what the result. You need to be finishing well. You need to be constantly working on your nutrition and managing injury and just getting through the hard days as well as the days that you have really good legs. And it's a really bad feeling if you can't do it, because I don't know about other people, but some of the worst feelings from a bad result are just feeling like you've let other people down that have put effort into you. And I think that the result that you get is it's so linked to the team's performance as well, that if you don't get that result, like,
Yeah.
you know, you feel like you've let everyone down, and it's definitely become less of a target for me. I think. I reckon like you said before, I feel like I fit a bit more into that more aggressive sort of breakaway specialist type rider. And yeah, I've had some pretty good results in 1 day races and things like that in the past. So I think I think this year will be fun. I'm just gonna try and sort of spread my net a bit wide and just try and get some results on a few different little playing fields.
That's cool. Is there room, do you think, to make a career in cycling without going world tour? If you just, focus on Asia, focus on privateering, I guess, trying to get preems and get stage wins. And, Peter Mullins is off racing she was racing crits in America a lot. And apparently that was quite a good, fun way of doing it. Is that something that appeals to you, or where would you, if world tour isn't on the cards, and maybe it is, if it's not, will you stay doing what you're doing and racing around
I mean,
Asia?
I think that it's becoming more and more of a viable option for lots of riders. Like Asia, like I said before, there's a lot of money over there, and it's just ramping up. Like a lot of the teams there have got huge budgets, and there's some really big riders that are signing with Asian teams. And then, yeah, like you said, the privateer thing, like what Trekkie does, not that he's a privateer, but he's done everything, whether it's been, podiuming road nationals or winning multiple national champs on the off-road. I think for me personally, I love the idea of just, like, my biggest thing's always been to try and just get the most out of myself as a rider, as an athlete. So for me, the incentive to getting paid, a good living is just the freedom of being able to train more and having access to, better roads. Like if it's winter and it's freezing here, to be able to, like, pay my way to get over to accommodation over in Europe or something where it's better weather to train in. And it's just all sort of towards that goal of just getting to the highest level I can as an athlete, and then seeing what that level is up against the world best, I suppose.
Yeah. And I mean, I imagine it's very hard to not compare, because you've got, like, you come to the Odyssey, you smash everyone, smash some world-class riders. Then you go to, I think you did the national ITT, was it this year or last year? And you were, 2 minutes behind Plapp?
Yeah, this year.
Like, that is insane.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, I suppose. I think that time trial it's very similar, and both very similar and very different to mountain biking, in that it's sort of you against the course almost. But then also it's quite different, because a lot of the speed that you get is speed that you buy. So you can sort of, I mean, obviously those guys like Plappy and Jay Vine and all those World Tour guys are just another level, as far as just their positions and the power they're able to produce and stuff like that. But it's an interesting discipline where, like, I could sort of look back on my performances and sort of go, look, I can see right there, like, if I'd had this, this helmet might have worked a bit better and it would have gained me this much seconds and whatnot. So yeah, it's my result this year was definitely about as good as I could have hoped for. Like, it was a really good performance by me, and I was really happy with myself. But it's kind of bittersweet to sort of know that there's a bit of time out there that's still just out of reach, no matter what, if you're not on a team.
Financially, or
well, I'd say financially. I mean, physically as well. I think that, like I said, those guys are such a high level. It's hard to tell how you'd go.
Kind of good to know, though, that a lot of it is equipment. A lot of it is, because what I was getting at is there's always there's levels and there's levels and there's levels of this sport. And I think we're all trying to sort of find our little niche, whether we're a weekend warrior, I don't know, wanting to ride 6 hours a week, then go and do the 50K Odyssey, whether you're sort of top of the,
domestic
like national level
food chain,
domestic scene. Then you even hear Luke Plapp talk about going to tour and being like, these, like, Pogacar,
it's ridiculous. It's
like
nuts.
Another species, and it's just all these
it's
levels.
upsetting.
So upsetting, right? Is it? Is it?
Like I said, I go to a national champs and I'll put out a performance like just the best one that I could dream of doing. And I've got a good bike, and I've got a good, like, everything is pretty bloody good. I reckon if I really got every single possible thing that you could get, I reckon I probably could save 30 seconds to a minute sort of thing out there. Like there is a fair bit of time out there still, which I think I'm going to work with the team this year to try and hopefully get my setup to be a little bit more dialed for next year's nationals. I've done a bit of work with Geordie and Aaron as well at Ride Sync. They helped me with my position leading into nationals this year, and that's such a big part of like time trial is having a really dialed position.
And it seems like you're very good at holding a good position on the road bike, for example, when you're out solo doing 50 plus Ks an hour by yourself. Probably even on the mountain bike when you're out the front in Odyssey. There's a lot of fire tracks and straight line speed you need there. What do you think about to hold a good position? Like, are you trying to get narrow? Are you holding your shoulder blades together? Are you putting your head down?
I've worked a lot on my position over the last sort of couple seasons. I've always sort of been the sort of guy I've loved to you'll idolize riders like Van der Poel or Remco or whoever it is, and I've always liked to try and make myself look like them on a bike. But yeah, so more recently, to get performance out of it, I've sort of just maximized the most aerodynamic position I possibly can, as comfortable as I can. So whether that's going out on those long sort of 4-hour endurance rides and holding a position that's quite low, or whether it's, going to the gym, I've got quite a few core sessions that I do that sort of get those muscles really used to being able to hold myself, like keep my trunk, really strong and hold myself in that position. And then I actually do quite a lot of arm strength stuff at the gym as well, just to sort of get the triceps and stuff, I guess, as comfortable as they can be, to just hold a position like that as easy as possible.
Well, they burn. If you're not conditioned, when I try to get low, it's not comfortable. Your power drops. It's a whole different thing. So that's really interesting. Is there any appeal in the Lifetime Grand Prix? So it's a bit of a tangent, but I just came to me then. Any appeal to go and do that sort of stuff in the sort of or is it?
No, definitely. There's an appeal in that I love racing off road, and I love racing those sort of hard events, and I've been to America. Like I was at America last year for Worlds, and I loved it over there. It was really nice. I think that for me, like I've said, a massive part of racing is having that feeling of bettering your team, or just achieving for others, and stuff like that. And I think, I mean, I don't want to let too much slip, or it's still sort of all up in the air. But I'm hoping to do a bit more multidiscipline stuff next year, and I think that'll all mostly be under the Caish banner as well. So the Caish Body Wrap team will hopefully be hitting some off-road start lines. But yeah, again, I just froth all of the bike stuff. So anything I can get my hands on.
I love it. So much passion. Obviously a lot of bloody skill as well, and fitness. So no, it's been awesome to chat, and it was so good to watch you racing in 2024 at the Odyssey. We'd love to have you back one day, and see you unleash again. So there you have it, Tali Lane Welsh. What a humble champion he is. Very hard to get him to boast about himself, but some very interesting insights there. I know I'll be taking away a few nuggets from his conversation, especially stuff about positioning, getting aero, and also just keeping smooth is fast through tracks like Yorga in the Otway Odyssey. I'll definitely be trying to keep that in mind next time I'm slogging my way through a mountain bike race. I hope you found it entertaining. I hope you found it interesting and insightful. If you found Tali's description of the Otway Odyssey course exciting, which I actually did myself, and that's saying something because I know the course so well, come and join us on the 20th anniversary. It's coming up in February next year. There's a whole new format for the weekend. You can now race a gravel race on both days or a mountain bike race on both days. We've rejigged the whole thing because we know that a lot of riders are single discipline riders, so we've tried to make it a bit more flexible in that regard. We've already got 35% more riders entered than we had this time last year, so it is shaping up to be a big one. If you want to be part of it, we would love to have you there, obviously. Rumour has it that we may be getting some elites like Tali back. Time will tell, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, head over to the Odyssey website, just Google Otway Odyssey, you'll find it, and yeah, get your entry in. Can't wait to see you there. Now, I know there's been a bit of a gap between podcasts. Apologies for that. Trying to lock in guests around delivering events and that sort of thing has been a bit tricky, but I do plan to keep them coming. So any suggestions you have or recommendations of people to interview, please email us at info@rapidascent.com.au and we'll do our best to get the desired guests on the podcast. That's all for today. Hope you were training hard. Hope you're feeling good, and we will see you next week.